Explore Truflation's accuracy, surpassing costly, outdated government inflation metrics.
March 2021. This came in below expectations as Wall Street had forecasted headline inflation at 2.6 and core at 3.0. So this indeed was absolutely below expectations and some of the lowest inflation that we've seen in a while. And this was predicted by Truflation. So Truflation actually is a leading indicator on this because the government is so bad at what they do. They've reversed engineered their statistics. So Truflation actually predicted that this is what the print would come in at. And they also said that they're doing a terrible job with how they report it. And they showed the actual inflation, which is even lower right now. Go to at Truflation on X. You can actually see their, I know I tagged some of their stuff, but let's just go to a search and just search their account. And you can actually see what they have pinned. Yeah, let's see. So there it is, Truflation. And you can see right here. So where is U.S. inflation heading now? Let's pull up that post. So where is U.S. inflation heading now? Markets call it lower than expected, but here in the Truflation community, we knew better. It was exactly what we expected. So what they're saying is that they had pre-predicted it, which they did. They definitely showed. They showed weeks ago, hey, this is what this is going to be. Well, low. It's going to be low. It's going to be down. But how do we do it? This video breaks it down clear as day, showing you how we track inflation and what we expect in the coming months. At Truflation, we process tens of millions of data points daily to update our real-time inflation indicator. Every single day, we ingest fresh data, categorize and validate it, upload it to the blockchain, deliver it directly to you. This relentless approach allows us to detect inflation trends an average of 45 days before BLS prints their numbers. But let's clear up a common misconception. We are not trying to replicate the BLS absolute values. We have our own methodology to measure inflation, one that we firmly believe reflects real inflation. However, because government decisions are based on outdated government data, when we predict BLS CPI prints, we adjust our model in a specific way. How do we predict BLS CPI so accurately? We apply a penalty to our own data. Yes, essentially, we simulate a scenario where our real-time data insights don't exist. We strip away our immediate access to fresh data and align our weightings with those of the BLS. The result, our BLS predictions have been extremely accurate. Over the past 10 months, our forecasts have been an average deviation of just 0.02%, excluding January, when the BLS changed weightings. And while we are happy to know that our community and premium subscribers use our leading indicator for everything from Bitcoin trades and U.S. Treasury bonds to FX markets, one thing still amazes us. The biggest economy in the world spends over $1 billion on an institution, BLS, that uses an outdated methodology just to base one of the world's most critical decisions, monetary policy changes, on its lagging numbers. Meanwhile, a team of 18 people, myself included, the Truflation intern, working with less than 1% of that budget, is beating them by almost 2 months. Why can only speculate, but one thing is certain. We will always keep exposing real inflation. We will always keep spreading the truff. Thank you for your support. And to those saying prices are only going up, yes, prices are still rising. Lower inflation does not mean lower prices. It simply means that prices are increasing at a slower rate. The damage of the past 5 years of compounded inflation is still being felt. Your groceries, rent, and everyday expenses are still far more expensive than they were. And that's exactly why tracking real-time inflation matters. So we know where we're heading and no one lies to us. Truflation team. Wow, that is unbelievable. So that just makes your blood boil that we're spending $1 billion for shitty, outdated data for the government to calculate this statistic when you've got literally a team of 18 people that's literally predicting this months in advance and doing it for 1% of the cost. I mean, if that just doesn't show you at scale how much money is actually being wasted by the taxpayer, it's almost unbelievable. And I've been following these guys for months, and they've been just on the dot, right, predicting what's going to happen months in advance, more data than the government's getting, and they even use the government's own shitty data to predict exactly what they're going to say weeks before they do. It's honestly hilarious. Honestly hilarious.
Do you remember the alternative that CJ was recommending?
What you're thinking of, Paul, is called Shadow Stats, and what Shadow Stats, I can't remember the guy's name. He does a great job. But what he does is he just uses the metrics that the government used like 10 to 20 years ago, because they keep adjusting the metrics to make themselves not look so bad, to make it look like inflation's not really so bad, so they can keep stealing from people by printing money. So he shows the Shadow Stats, inflation, which is significantly higher than what we're seeing today on the current CPI print. But Truflation is even better. They're putting all this stuff on a blockchain. They're using actual data to really give you a much more accurate picture. So if you look at their print, you can really see how inflation, kind of how it's tracking, and then you see right now there's a huge disconnect. Even if you look at the most recent print, you can see that inflation is actually coming down a little bit. But you look at their line, and they're showing that we're going to be coming down much, much, much more. And they've literally essentially led the way. I mean, if you kind of follow, even over the past couple years, you can see when they showed that inflation was coming down, the government data was lagging greatly to show that it was coming down.
That's impressive.
Pretty impressive. I mean, the data doesn't lie, the numbers don't lie. So, JMD, to answer your question, this is where I'm getting all this information. I'm not just being hyperbolic. Pull up the live chat again. I want to see what else he wrote in there. Oh my goodness. Can you find a graph showing inflation for the last year?